Welcome to A Closer Look with Tom and Terry. Today's episode explores one of the most spectacular holiday touring acts in modern music, Siberian Orchestra. Thanks for spending some time with us today. We are very glad you are here. Today we are talking about a group that practically owns the holiday touring season, Siberian Orchestra, often just called TSO.
If you have ever seen a Christmas light display set to blazing rock guitars and symphonic strings, there's a good chance TSO was on the soundtrack.
Over the next few minutes, we will look at how TSO started, how they create their music and massive tours, who leads the project, and which albums and songs really define their sound.
Let us start with the origin story. Siberian Orchestra was created in the mid-1990s by producer and composer Paul O'Neill. He had worked for years in rock and metal, including with the band Sabotage, and wanted to build a rock orchestra that combined big guitars, classical music, and storytelling, especially around Christmas.
O'Neill teamed up with guitarist and music director Al Pitrelli, keyboardist and co-producer Robert Kinkle, and Sabotage vocalist and writer John Oliva. Together they designed TSO from the ground up as both a studio project and a touring show, not just a traditional rock band.
The first big step was taking a Sabotage track called Christmas Eve Sarajevo 1224 and building an entire Christmas concept album around that sound. That became Christmas Eve and Other Stories, released in the late 1990s, and it set the tone for everything that followed.
From the start, TSO was meant to feel cinematic. Multiple singers, a narrator telling a story, choirs, strings, and a rhythm section that owed as much to heavy metal as to classical.
One thing that sets TSO apart is how they build their albums. Most releases are rock operas or concept records. There's always a narrative thread, a traveler searching on Christmas Eve, a child, an angel, or even Beethoven himself.
The writing team develops the story first, or alongside the songs, then composes music that weaves in and out of the narrative. They often blend original material with reworked classical pieces or traditional carols. So you might hear Pachelbel's Canon turned into Christmas Canon, or Carol of the Bells reimagined as high-energy rock arrangements.
In the studio, they layer multiple guitars, big keyboard arrangements, choirs, and full orchestration. Several different vocalists take on characters or emotional points of view in the story. Then a narrator ties it all together between songs.
That studio material becomes the blueprint for their live shows. They decide which parts of the story to tell on stage, which songs to feature, and then design a visual production to match the emotional peaks. Lights, lasers, pyro, and video all synchronized tightly to the music.
Let's walk through the major albums. TSO's first big record was Christmas Eve and Other Stories. That album is often seen as their signature work and commercial powerhouse, built around themes of hope, redemption, and a search for the true meaning of Christmas.
Next came The Christmas Attic, which continued the holiday storytelling and gave us Christmas Canon, one of their most recognizable songs. Then The Lost Christmas Eve completed what many people call the Christmas Trilogy. Those three albums formed the heart of TSO's holiday identity.
They didn't stay only with Christmas, though. Beethoven's Last Night imagines Beethoven confronting his legacy, negotiating over his music in a supernatural setting. Later, Night Castle and Letters from the Labyrinth expanded into broader themes like war, history, and human choices.
So while TSO is most closely associated with Christmas, their catalog includes full-scale rock operas that explore darker and more philosophical territory, all without losing that orchestral rock sound.
When people think about TSO's biggest releases, that first album, Christmas Eve and Other Stories, usually comes up first. It sold very well, and songs from it dominate holiday rock playlists.
The breakout track there is Christmas Eve Sarajevo 1224. It's essentially a medley of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and Carol of the Bells, delivered with driving drums, heavy guitars, and cinematic strings. That track has become their calling card.
Another huge favorite is Christmas Canon from the Christmas Attic. It takes Paco Bell's canon in D and turns it into a gentle, choir-driven Christmas song that still fits inside TSO's larger rock orchestra context.
And then there's Wizards in Winter. That instrumental is a fast, playful piece that many people know from choreographed Christmas light shows. Even if someone doesn't know the band's name, they often recognize that track.
Beyond O's, fan favorites include A Mad Russian's Christmas, Old City Bar, and Believe, each showing different sides of the band, bombastic arrangements, intimate storytelling, and more reflective ballad moments.
Now let's talk about the live shows, because that's where Trans-Siberian Orchestra truly became a seasonal tradition. Their tours are built around the holiday season, mainly November and December.
The schedule is intense. To cover so many cities in such a short time, TSO does something unusual. They run two full touring companies at the same time, usually called the East and West groups. Each one has its own singers, band, string players, and production crew, performing essentially the same show in different parts of the country.
In a typical year, between those two groups, they can play around 100 or more concerts in roughly 60 or so cities, often doing matinee and evening shows on the same day. That's a huge undertaking from a logistics standpoint.
The stage production is almost like a hybrid of a rock concert and a Broadway show. There are massive light rigs, lasers, video screens, and pyrotechnic effects coordinated with musical climaxes. The storytelling is narrated live, so it feels like watching a rock opera unfold in real time.
Structurally, TSO is one creative entity with multiple live configurations. At the center are the writers and producers, originally led by Paul O'Neill, with key roles played by Al Pitrelli, Robert Kinkle, and Savatage vocalist and writer John Oliva. After O'Neill's passing, the project continued with that core musical direction, guiding the overall sound and vision.
For touring, those leaders oversee two distinct casts, the East and West touring companies. Each company has multiple vocalists who share lead duties, a core rock band, and a small string section. They aim to present the same show experience so that audiences on either coast feel like they're seeing the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
And within each touring company, there's also a musical director on stage, often Pitrelli or another longtime member, who anchors the performance, cues transitions, and interacts with the crowd. That keeps the huge production tight and consistent night after night.
Over the years, many singers and instrumentalists have rotated through TSO. Some come from metal and hard rock backgrounds, others from musical theater or classical training. That mix supports the project's blend of operatic vocals, rock attitude, and symphonic precision.
It's helpful to picture TSO's workflow as a loop. First, the team creates a narrative concept and writes the music in the studio. They record with a large cast, layering voces and instruments until they achieve that big cinematic sound.
Next, they decide how to adapt that recorded story for the live environment. Not every album track appears in the show every year, but the big narrative beats and fan-favorite songs usually return. They write or refine the spoken narration, pick the featured vocalists for key parts, and then start designing the visual experience.
Rehearsals are extensive because everything must sync: the band, the singers, the strings, the narrator, and all the lighting and effects cues. It's closer to staging a rock musical than just rehearsing a set list.
The result is that each holiday season, audiences see not just a concert, but a staged retelling of one of their stories, often combined with a second half that highlights material from other albums. That formula has helped TSO become a yearly tradition for many families.
When you step back, Trans-Siberian Orchestra fills a unique niche. They turned the idea of a holiday concert into a full-scale rock opera event and made symphonic rock part of many people's December rituals.
And they bridge several worlds: heavy metal and classical, arena rock and theater, concept albums, and family holiday outings. That blend keeps them accessible to listeners who might not usually explore progressive rock or metal.
Their continued success shows that there's still a strong audience for long-form storytelling in music, especially when it's paired with memorable melodies and a clear emotional arc.
And because they tour so intensely every year, they reach fans who might not otherwise experience this kind of show. For many people, TSO is their introduction to orchestral textures, rock opera structures, and even bits of classical repertoire.
That brings us to the end of today's episode of A Closer Look with Tom and Terry, where we explored the world of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, how they were created, how they craft their albums and tours, and why their music has become a holiday staple.
Thank you for joining us and spending part of your day with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like this episode, subscribe to the podcast, and share it with your friends and family who might be TSO fans or who are just looking for something new to listen to this season.
We also want to hear from you. Leave your comments and suggestions for future topics below. Let us know which TSO songs are your favorites, whether you've seen them live, or what other artists you'd like us to explore next. This has been A Closer Look with Tom and Terry. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to taking another closer look with you next time.